Deep within the heart of an eerie forest stood a cluster of tents, sheltering a group of intrepid campers who sought adventure and respite from the clamor of the modern world. The towering trees whispered secrets to one another, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, while the moon cast an ethereal glow upon the forest floor. Little did the campers know that a haunting melody was about to disrupt their peaceful retreat. It began on the first night, when a gentle breeze carried a distant tune that seemed to emanate from the depths of the woods. It was a delicate melody, tinged with melancholy and longing. The campers paused in their conversations, their eyes darting nervously in search of the origin of this otherworldly music. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible above the rustling leaves. The others nodded, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and unease. They huddled closer together, drawn to the haunting melody like moths to a flame. Night after night, the tune grew louder, more insistent, and each time it beckoned them further into the heart of the forest. On the third night, curiosity turned into a compulsion. The campers, their hearts pounding in their chests, followed the siren call of the melody, their footsteps treading lightly on the forest floor. The moon's glow guided their way as they ventured deeper into the shadows, guided by an invisible force that seemed to pull them closer to their unknown destination. As they ventured deeper, the forest became denser, the trees pressing in on them like silent sentinels. The melody resonated in their ears, mingling with the symphony of their own racing hearts. They could feel the presence of something ancient, something far from human, lurking just beyond their line of sight. "Should we turn back?" Mark asked, his voice trembling with uncertainty. But the group was consumed by an irresistible force that urged them onward. Fear and curiosity had melded into a dangerous concoction, and their rationality began to unravel like thread from a spool. They pressed on, driven by a desperate need to uncover the source of the melody. Hours turned into days, and still, they wandered deeper into the heart of the forest. Their clothes were tattered, their bodies weary, but the music persisted, urging them onward. It was as if the melody had wrapped its tendrils around their souls, refusing to let go. At last, they stumbled upon a clearing bathed in pale moonlight. In the center stood a decrepit wooden cabin, its windows shattered, and its door hanging from a single rusty hinge. The melody swirled around them, emanating from within the dilapidated structure. Cautiously, they approached the cabin, their senses on high alert. As they stepped across the threshold, the music intensified, filling the air with an almost tangible presence. The walls seemed to reverberate with the haunting notes, and the campers exchanged nervous glances. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, shrouded in a cloak of shadows. Its eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light, and its skeletal fingers danced along the keys of an old piano. The melody flowed from its fingertips, a mournful dirge that echoed through the cabin. "You sought me out," the figure hissed, its voice a mere whisper. "Now, you shall be mine." Terror gripped the campers as they realized the true nature of the melody. It was a lure, a trap set by a supernatural entity that fed on their fears, their hopes, and their very souls. They scrambled for the door, their hearts pounding in their chests, but the figure's skeletal hand shot out, grasping one of them by the ankle. The campers screamed, their voices blending with the dissonant chords of the haunting melody. "Please, let us go," Sarah pleaded, tears streaming down her face. The figure's gaze bore into her soul, and a malevolent smile twisted its face. "You cannot escape," it whispered, its voice filled with a twisted delight. "You have been lured to this place, and now you shall remain here forever." Desperation fueled their fight for survival. They fought with all their strength, clawing and kicking, trying to free their friend from the clutches of the supernatural entity. But their efforts were in vain. One by one, the campers succumbed to the grasp of the entity, their bodies fading into the shadows, their voices silenced forever. Only Sarah remained, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. She refused to surrender to the malevolent force that sought to claim her soul. With every ounce of courage she could muster, she broke free from the creature's grip and raced towards the door. The melody intensified, growing louder and more dissonant, echoing through the very fabric of her being. The figure pursued her, its skeletal fingers outstretched, but Sarah's resolve burned brighter than ever. She stumbled out of the cabin and into the moonlit clearing, gasping for air as she put as much distance as she could between herself and the malevolent entity. With each step, the melody grew fainter, its grip on her weakening. Sarah emerged from the forest, her body battered and bruised, but her spirit unbroken. She collapsed on the ground, her breaths ragged and shallow, but a sense of relief washed over her. She had survived the encounter with the Whistler in the woods. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah struggled to make sense of the horrors she had witnessed. She found solace in the company of a wise old woman, a resident of the nearby town who had heard tales of the forest's dark secrets. The Whistler in the woods, the old woman mused, her voice tinged with sadness. It's a creature that preys on the fears and desires of those who dare to listen. It lures unsuspecting souls with its haunting melody, trapping them in an eternal torment. Sarah listened intently, her heart heavy with the weight of her ordeal. But you, the old woman continued, her eyes sparkling with wisdom, you have escaped its clutches. Your strength and resilience allowed you to break free. Sarah nodded, grateful for her newfound understanding. She had faced the darkest corners of her own fears and emerged stronger on the other side. As the days turned into months, Sarah became an advocate for those who fell victim to the Whistler in the woods. She warned others of the dangers that lurked within the forest, spreading the tale of her harrowing encounter as a cautionary tale. The melody still whispered in the wind, carrying echoes of the past, but Sarah refused to let it haunt her. She found solace in the companionship of fellow survivors, knowing that they were not alone in their struggles. And so, the legend of the Whistler in the woods endured, a reminder that the darkest forces can be overcome with strength, resilience, and the unwavering determination to survive. Moral of the story: in the face of darkness, the strength of the human spirit can triumph over the most malevolent of forces. It is in our ability to confront our fears, support one another, and refuse to succumb that we find hope and resilience.